Hello. Well, today I've got a special treat. This recipe I got from some new friends we've made on YouTube. Well, we've never seen them, but we correspond, and that's Tom and Chris. They live near San Diego. Every once in a while they send us sweet stuff, and I do mean sweet. I don't know if you've ever heard of C's candies, but wow. They set the gold standard. First, you make the date filling and let it cool. Then you make the cake part. You'll put half of the cake batter in the bottom of a 9x13 you've greased. Put all of the date filling on that, and then top that with the rest of the batter. Now I want to bring something up here. Martin's sisters were over yesterday, and they brought up some good points. If you watch these videos on TV, you will never see my description and complete directions on how to make this. I see I can get the descriptions on my smartphone, on Martin's Kindle, and my laptop, but on the TV you can't. And I write up specific directions and measurements on how to make each thing. So if it's not enough, please let me know. Go to the description to find all of this. Okay, so today we're going to use, this is the cake part. All over here is the cake part. And we have 1 cup of shortening. You know it's going to be good. 1 cup of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to cream these together and then add 2 beaten eggs. Then I'm going to put these together. This is 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon salt, 1½ teaspoons baking powder. I'm going to put those together, probably use a whisk. Then, this is all creamed together. I'm going to add the flour and then the milk. The flour and then the milk. Well, I'll do that a couple times, divide it up. But first off, this really isn't that hard, it's just the description of it. First off, I'm going to make the date filling because you have to let that cool. So I have here 1 cup of dates cut up, 1/2 cup of butter, I'm going to melt that, 1 cup of brown sugar, I always use dark. I have a cup of pecans, or you can use walnuts, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Let me get started with the date part. I have sitting to the side a 9x13 that's greased. I'm going to set my stove at 350 degrees. So first I have to make the date filling and then let it cool. Let me get going on that. Now remember, this isn't difficult, and you will have probably most of these ingredients at home. You might not have the dates, but this isn't difficult. There's just a couple of steps. But it makes a nice 9x13 coffee cake for you. First thing, I'm putting my 1/2 cup of butter into my pan to melt. Then I'm going to add all of the rest. We'll let that melt. Alright, this is all melted, so now I'm going to add everything else. Here goes a cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of dates. Well, first I'm going to mix this together. You know, she had another idea that was good, and that was to film me doing this, not just my hands, but I have a small kitchen, and most of those gals have big islands and big countertops. I don't have that, and I'm the only one filming. It would be kind of hard to pull that off. Okay, here goes my 1 cup dates, my 1 cup of pecans, and my cinnamon. So she did have another one though that I think I can pull off, and that is show the finished product at the beginning to get people to stay. I think I'll do that one. You see this? I'm just going to let this go together a bit. And then I'm going to let it cool. Now I have this on medium heat, but you can see the brown sugar is going to liquefy, melt a bit with that butter. And I'm even going to turn it down a little bit. Let it go low and slow. And when it's how I want it, I'll show you when I get there, I will take it off and let it cool. I'm going to set this aside. You can see it's bubbling a bit and it's really come together nice. I don't want to burn it. I'm going to set this aside and let it cool. Then we will move on to making the cake part. Very nice. That took about 15 minutes to cool down, but oh, this smelled so good when it was cooking, that brown sugar and the nuts and the cinnamon and vanilla. Oof. I'm going to mix these few dry ingredients together that we'll add in a little bit. This is 3 cups of flour, a teaspoon of salt, and 1½ teaspoon of baking powder. So I'm just going to put these in. And then just whisk them a little bit. Then I'm going to start the wet part of the cake. There. Now in my mixer bowl, part of the cream part of this is I have put the 1 cup of shortening, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now I'm going to cream this together. Next I'm going to add the 2 beaten eggs. Then we're going to add the dry and the milk. But first we're going to cream this together. Okay, that's nicely creamed together. This is the shortening, sugar, and vanilla, and 2 beaten eggs. Now I'm going to add half of the dry, half of the milk, half of the dry, half of the milk. And remember, the dry is 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon salt, and 1½ teaspoons baking powder. And it's 1 cup of milk. And when I'm creaming something, I'll stop it periodically and use my spatula and make sure it's getting off the side walls of the bowl. Let me start this. You don't want to go too fast. I did that once and there was flour everywhere. Now I'm going to add half of the milk. Don't go too fast, you're going to be spilling. You can actually use a hand mixer for this also. I'm going to add the rest of the flour. It's just when I'm filming, this is easier. It's about ready for the milk. Let me add the milk. Now at this stage, this batter is really thick, and so is the date filling. So you're going to have to finesse things into place. So I'm going to try to put half of the batter in. See, it's really thick. That means it's not going to pour. You'll have to kind of spread it out. Okay, I have half of the batter down. You have to, it's a thick batter, so you have to finagle it around. Just kind of move it. Now I'm going to put the dates on. They're thick also, so that's another thing. But you're going to put all the dates on at once. In fact, I'm going to use my fingers. Oh, these dates smell so good with the brown sugar. Oh, this will be so good. And it makes a larger batch. And remember, if you're using glass, 25 degrees less, and cook it a little longer than the recipe says. Oh, that's going to be good, good, good. Now it's tricky getting that top layer on because it's stiff. But just dab it on. It's probably not going to be solid. And for this part, I'm just going to drop it in dollops. I guess that's what you call it. And then I'll try to spread that around. You really want to watch me do all of this? Oh, geez. Let's give this a try. Doesn't have to be solid, because that's a coffee cake is not necessarily that way. I'm just about to call this done and done. This is going to go in the oven. No, it's not perfectly covered, but a lot of coffee cakes, this is how they are. And wait till you see it. Now remember, it's glass, so I'm baking it 25 degrees less and a little longer. I'm going to set the timer for 55 minutes. Let's see how it goes. Take a look at this in all its beauty. Doesn't look like much on top, but look down in here. See all that date filling in there? Now there's one thing I'm going to do that you don't have to do. I'm going to let this cool a little more. I'm going to put a glaze on it. The recipe recommends it. Dorothy recommended it, so I'm going to do it. Let this cool a little. It's even still a tiny bit warm in the middle. It is delicious. But I am going to put a little glaze on there. Let me show you how I do this. It's very easy. I have here a cup of powdered sugar. I don't know how much I need, so I'm going to start with a cup. This is all like eyeballing it. I'm going to show you something though. When you make this, you can make a frosting, you can make a glaze. Glaze, of course, is very thin. So I'm going to start out with a tablespoon of milk. And like I said, you're going to eyeball this. I can tell right now that's very thick. I'm going to need a little bit more. I'm going to put another tablespoon in. You can easily turn powdered sugar into a glaze. Oh dear. You wanted to see bloopers, there you go. See that? That's a little thicker. So I think I'm going to make it just a little bit thinner. This is more like a frosting, but I want to make it a little bit thinner. And you really can't go wrong. Either it's going to be too thin and you have to add more powdered sugar, or you put a little bit more milk in. That is just about perfect for what I want to do. I just want to give it a nice little glaze. See that? Now what I do to glaze, you put it in a baggie. Then you cut a tip off and sprinkle it all over. So I'm going to put this into the baggie. See that? Let me get that all in here. So I put my glaze into the baggie. Now I'm going to cut that corner and I will just drizzle it over the coffee cake. I'm not a very good drizzler, so we'll see how I do. I usually end up having lumps, but let me give this a try. Another thing you can do with a coffee cake is take some brown sugar, some regular oatmeal, and a little soft butter, and mix that together. It's crumbly, and then sometimes they just put that on top, crumble that on top, and that's awfully nice too. But this is a beautiful coffee cake. Dorothy's Date Coffee Cake. I'm also going to put a link in the description for Chris's lemon bars. I know I've already told you how yummy this is, but that date filling, I'm going to start putting it in cupcakes too, I think. Dorothy, this is sure a winner. Till next time, bye-bye.